Okay, wow, diving back into Abdu'l Bahā's Paris talks.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is, and last time we barely scratched the surface.
We did.
We did, and you've brought some more incredible excerpts this time around.
Well, I'm always finding more.
That's awesome. And, I'm still thinking about that story about Mirtabadi delivering a message to the Shah.
Oh, yeah. Talk about dedication.
Yeah, incredible. Well, today we're going even deeper, uncovering some hidden gems in each talk.
Let's do it.
And figure out the purpose behind parts 1, 2, and 3. Not to mention that intriguing tablet.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
I'm ready. So what's fascinating about the structure of these talks is that Abdu'l Bahá seems to be deliberately guiding his listeners on a kind of spiritual journey. Each part builds on the previous one.
It does.
Taking us deeper into the practical application of the Baha'i teachings.
It's like he's taking us by the hand and leading us through this incredible landscape of knowledge and understanding.
That's a great way to put it. So let's unpack this journey. And we started with part 1, where Abdu'l Bahá really emphasized treating strangers, especially those from different cultures, with a profound kindness.
Yes.
He even used the phrase loving kindness, which felt so powerful. It wasn't just about being polite, right?
Exactly. It was about transcending social conventions and demonstrating a genuine heartfelt connection with everyone we meet.
Right.
And he even offered specific examples like helping strangers find lodging or offering assistance when needed. It's about putting spirituality into action, demonstrating our beliefs through our deeds.
And it's interesting because he even tied this concept of kindness to his own experience in Paris. Remember that story he shared about being exhausted after a long day but too excited to sleep?
Yes, it really humanizes him, doesn't it?
It does.
That image of him filled with so much joy and enthusiasm for sharing his message that fatigue simply melted away.
Right.
It highlights his genuine passion for spreading the Baha'i teachings.
It reveals this core message of part 1, true spirituality manifests in action, especially in how we treat others. But then the tone shifts in part 2, doesn't it? It becomes more about building a better world.
Absolutely. Part 2 dives into the 11 principles for humanity, providing a framework for creating a more just and unified society. It's about taking that individual action we cultivated in part 1 and applying it to address wider societal issues like prejudice, economic disparity, and even the role of religion in politics.
And what I found so fascinating was Abdu'l Bahā's use of historical examples to illustrate these principles. He even brought up King Lycurgus's attempted forced equality in Sparta.
Right. It's such a powerful example because it shows that simply enforcing economic equality doesn't automatically lead to a just society. It highlights the need for balance for solutions that are both practical and rooted in spiritual principles. Abdu'l Bahá is encouraging us to think critically to find solutions that uplift everyone.
So we go from personal kindness to societal transformation. And then in part 3, things take a more introspective turn. It's almost like Abdu'l Bahá is guiding us inward, encouraging us to look within.
You're picking up on that deliberate progression, which is so fascinating. Part 3 emphasizes the importance of meditation and seeking inner truth. It's about cultivating a rich inner life alongside those outward actions.
Well, I loved the story he shared about the Society of the Friends in Persia, a historical group dedicated to silent meditation for spiritual insight. It's like he's showing us that this practice of deep contemplation has deep roots.
Exactly. He reminds us that inner reflection and connection with the divine are crucial for spiritual growth. It's not just about doing, it's also about being.
So we have these 3 distinct sections, each building upon the previous one. But then there's this mysterious tablet that you mentioned earlier. Where does that fit into all of this?
The tablet, it's like the keystone that locks the entire archway into place. This tablet specifically addresses the role of women in the Baha'i faith, and honestly, it was groundbreaking for its time. Abdu'l Bahá outlined the equal rights of women and emphasized the critical importance of their education and spiritual development.
So it reinforces the Baha'i faith's strong commitment to gender equality, something that sets it apart even today.
Precisely, and it adds a vital dimension to the overarching message of the Paris talks. The vision of a future where women are empowered and contribute fully to society. It's not just about personal transformation, it's about societal transformation as well, and everyone has a role to play in that.
Okay, so we've got these distinct sections, each with its own focus. But what about the overarching messages that connect them all? What are the big takeaways here?
That's where it gets even more intriguing. Wouldn't you say the Paris talks are like a tapestry woven with threads of unity, action, and spirituality?
It's interesting you say that because when I was reading through the materials you sent over, it was like Abdu'l Bahá was calling us to build a better world. He talked about the interconnectedness of humanity and how we need to move beyond our differences to embrace what unites us.
Yes, that's the essence of unity, isn't it? He challenges us to break down prejudices, whether religious, racial, or national, and strive towards a world where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. It's a global society where diversity isn't something to fear, but something to celebrate.
And it's not just about talking about it, is it? Abdu'l Bahá is really clear that our faith should be more than just beliefs. He was calling for action, for service to humanity, for us to put our beliefs into practice.
You're absolutely right. He's saying it's not enough to simply have good intentions.
Right.
We need to translate those spiritual principles into concrete actions that benefit others and contribute to building a more just world.
But it's also about going deeper than that, right? It's about cultivating that spiritual life, nurturing our souls alongside our minds and bodies. It's that inner transformation that we talked about earlier.
Yes, he reminds us that prayer, meditation, and detaching from material pursuits are all essential for true happiness and fulfillment. It's about aligning our actions with our beliefs and becoming better versions of ourselves.
So it's like a three-pronged approach, almost. Unity, action, and spirituality. These themes are woven throughout the Paris talks, creating this incredible tapestry of wisdom and guidance.
It's a call to create a world where people from all walks of life can live in harmony, a world where actions are guided by compassion and justice, a world where we nourish both our inner selves and the world around us. It's a legacy that still resonates deeply even today.
What stands out to you as the most significant takeaway so far?
You know, it's the interconnectedness of it. All these seemingly distinct things, from kindness to social justice to inner reflection, they're all woven together. It's a reminder that every action, every thought, every choice we make ripples outwards and affects the world around us.
It's pretty amazing to think about, isn't it?
It really is.
And it makes me wonder, how can we apply these teachings to our own lives and contribute to building that kind of world?
Now, that's a question worth pondering.
It is, and it's something for all of us to think about as we move into the next part of our deep dive. What stands out to you from Abdu'l Bahá's message? So far, we'll be back soon to explore even more fascinating insights from the Paris talks.
I can't wait.
I've been thinking about what you said last time,
About
those ripple effects, about how everything is connected.
Yeah.
It really makes you see Abdu'l Bahá's message in a new light.
It's a real shift in perspective, isn't it?
It is.
When you realize your actions, no matter how small, can contribute to creating a more just and unified world.
It's a bit daunting, but also empowering. It makes you want to step up and do something, even if it's just a small act of kindness.
And that's what Abdu'l Bahá was urging his audiences to do. Remember, he wasn't just delivering these abstract philosophical lectures in Paris. He was engaging with real-world issues, responding directly to people's questions and concerns.
Right. And you mentioned how he talked about the futility of war, for example.
Oh, yeah.
That must have been a powerful message, especially in the years leading up to World War I.
Can you imagine being in that room, listening to him speak about the urgent need for peace, about creating a world where differences are resolved through understanding and cooperation rather than violence?
Right.
It must have felt so relevant, so vital.
And it's fascinating how he was able to connect these lofty spiritual ideals with the everyday realities of his listeners' lives. I mean, he even talked about the benefits of religion.
Right, he did, and he did it in a way that resonated even with those who might have been skeptical or disillusioned with organized religion. He spoke about how true religion should inspire us to live better lives, to be kind to others, to strive for a more just world.
It's not about dogma or rituals, but about that inner transformation that leads to positive action in the world.
You got it.
And what's even more remarkable is how he emphasized the harmony between religion and science.
Oh, yeah.
This was at a time when those two domains were often seen as being at odds with each other.
Right.
So ahead of his time.
Absolutely, considering how those debates still continue even now.
They do.
He argued that true religion and true science could never be in conflict because they both ultimately lead to a deeper understanding of reality. He saw them as complementary paths, both essential for human progress.
So it's not about choosing sides, but about recognizing the value of both perspectives.
Exactly.
Of seeking truth wherever it may be found.
He challenged his listeners to be open-minded, to examine their own prejudices, and to embrace truth regardless of its source. It's about engaging in a genuine search for understanding, about challenging our own assumptions.
It's like he's saying, don't just blindly accept things, question them, explore them, delve deeper. But that exploration goes beyond just the intellect, doesn't it? There's a spiritual dimension as well.
Absolutely. And this is where his emphasis on prayer and meditation comes in. Remember that story he shared about the Society of the Friends in Persia, that historical group dedicated to silent meditation?
Yeah.
He saw their practice as a model for cultivating that inner connection with the divine.
It's not just about external rituals or practices, but about nurturing that inner space, that connection with something greater than ourselves.
Exactly. And he believed that through deep reflection, through quieting the mind and opening our hearts, we can tap into a source of wisdom and strength that can guide us on our spiritual journey.
So it's about going inward to find the strength and clarity to act effectively in the outward world.
You're getting it. It's about aligning those inner and outer dimensions of our being.
But he didn't just leave people with vague concepts, did he? He offered practical guidance on how to live a more spiritual life.
Yes, he talked about the importance of detaching from material pursuits, of focusing on virtues like kindness, honesty, and justice.
Right. It's not about denying ourselves earthly pleasures, but about finding a balance, about recognizing that true happiness and fulfillment come from aligning our actions with our spiritual values.
Exactly. And he acknowledged that this is not always easy. Remember, he himself endured years of imprisonment. Yet he emerged from that experience with a spirit of hope and forgiveness.
That's incredible. It's a testament to the transformative power of faith and the resilience of the human spirit.
It really is. His life is a powerful example of how to live these teachings, how to face adversity with grace and courage.
So we see all these threads woven together: unity, action, spirituality.
It's amazing.
That's a pretty incredible legacy, wouldn't you say?
It really is. And what makes it even more powerful is that he presented these ideas in a way that feels timeless, relevant, even today, amidst our own complex challenges.
Right. Okay, but here's what I'm really curious about. We've talked about these three distinct parts of Paris Talks, but how do they all fit together? Is there a bigger picture here?
That's where it gets really interesting if we connect this to the bigger picture. It seems like each part represents a stage in a spiritual journey guiding us towards a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
Hold on, that's fascinating. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about part 1 with its focus on kindness to strangers. It's like an invitation, a call to open our hearts to others, to cultivate a sense of compassion that extends beyond our immediate circle.
Okay, it's like laying the groundwork for a more inclusive and compassionate way of being.
Exactly. Then, part 2 introduces the 11 principles, giving us a practical framework for turning those feelings of compassion into concrete action in the world.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about doing good. It's about using those principles to address real-world problems, to work towards creating a more just and equitable society.
Precisely. And then in part 3, the focus shifts inward. It's about cultivating our spiritual lives through practices like prayer and meditation, about connecting with something larger than ourselves.
Like the culmination of the journey where we go from outward action to inner transformation.
It's a beautiful way to put it. And remember that tablet about the equality of women?
Yeah.
It adds another layer to this journey, challenging us to break down traditional hierarchies and envision a future where everyone can reach their full potential.
So it's like these 4 pieces, the 3 parts of the talks and the tablet. They all work together to create this comprehensive guide for both personal and collective transformation.
It's about recognizing that our individual spiritual growth is inextricably linked to the well-being of the world around us.
I'm starting to see how it all fits together, how each piece builds upon the last, creating this powerful and coherent message.
And it's a message that transcends time and culture, a message that continues to resonate even today, offering us guidance and inspiration as we navigate our own complex world.
This is definitely a lot to take in. Maybe we should pause here for a moment, let all of this sink in before we move on to the final part of our deep dive.
That's a great idea. Take some time to reflect on what's resonated with you most so far. We'll be back soon to explore even more of Abdu'l Bahā's profound insights.
Taking a step back and looking at the Paris Talks as a whole journey, like you said last time, it's been really eye-opening.
It really puts things into perspective.
It does. It's amazing how Abdu'l Bahá crafted these talks to guide us step by step.
It's like he knew the questions and challenges that we would face on our own paths.
Yeah.
And he provided us with not just a map, but a compass and a light along the way.
That's beautifully said. And that map, as you described it, begins with part 1 and its focus on kindness, particularly towards those who are different from us.
Yes, it's about expanding our circle of compassion, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, no matter their background or their beliefs. It's about breaking down those barriers and really cultivating a true sense of unity.
It's like laying the foundation for a more inclusive and just world, starting with our own hearts.
Exactly. And then once we have that foundation laid, we move to part 2, where those feelings of compassion are channeled into concrete action through the 11 principles.
It's about taking those lofty ideals and applying them to the real world.
Yeah. Yes.
addressing those issues like prejudice, economic inequality, and the role of religion in society.
Exactly. It's about using our understanding of those spiritual principles to build a better world, to create systems and structures that reflect those values of unity and justice.
And then after all that outward action, we turn inward in part 3, exploring the importance of cultivating our inner lives.
Yes. This is where those practices of prayer and meditation come in, allowing us to connect with a deeper source of wisdom and strength. It's about nurturing our souls, quieting the noise of the world, and tapping into that inner stillness.
It's almost like we're taking a break, stepping back from the busyness of life.
Yes.
To recharge, to reconnect with our true selves.
It's about finding that balance, that sense of peace and purpose that can help us through challenges and guide us towards a more fulfilling life.
And it strikes me that this inner transformation isn't separate from all those outward actions.
Right.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can't act with true compassion and justice in the world unless you've cultivated those qualities within yourself. It's a process of both inner and outer transformation, and it's a beautiful cycle because they reinforce each other.
And the tablet about the role of women fits into this framework perfectly.
Yes.
Challenging those ingrained social norms and recognizing the equal capacity of women to contribute to the process of both spiritual and social transformation.
It's about creating a world where everyone, regardless of gender, has the opportunity to reach their full potential and contribute to building a better future for all. It's about unlocking the power of unity in its fullest sense.
So we have these 4 elements, the 3 parts of the Paris talks and the tablet, all working together to guide us on this incredible journey of personal and collective growth.
Yes.
It's a path that leads us from individual acts of kindness to a vision of a world transformed by unity, justice, and spiritual awareness.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not just these isolated individuals,
Right.
but we are interconnected parts of a larger whole. Our actions, our thoughts, our choices all matter.
They do.
They all shape the world around us, and ultimately they shape our own spiritual development.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Abdu'l Bahá's Paris talks, the question becomes, what do we do with all this knowledge? How can we apply these teachings to our own lives?
Well, Abdu'l Bahá gave us a profound roadmap, but the journey itself is ours to take.
That's true.
He challenges us to live with more kindness, to act with justice, and to really cultivate our spiritual selves. It's a challenge, but the rewards are immeasurable.
It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Yes.
And contributing to a more loving and equitable world. And that's a journey worth taking, don't you think?
Absolutely. A journey that begins with a single step, a single act of kindness, a single moment of reflection. And who knows where it could lead? Keep those questions coming, and until next time, happy diving.